Greetings to you all. We'll call this one Worship in Spirit and Truth for November 16th, 2025. In this week's Gospel, Jesus speaks at some length about the end, apparently meaning the end of time or end of the world in Luke 21. Now, much of the homilizing on this is going to talk about being ready for Christ's return, which for us Catholics tends to mean being ready for our individual death, with less emphasis placed on the end of all things. But I'd like to focus on the very beginning of today's gospel. Quote, while some people were speaking about how the temple was adorned with costly stones and votive offerings, Jesus said, all that you see here, the days will come when there will not be left a stone upon a stone that will not be thrown down. That's in Luke 21. Now, I can't quite put my finger on it, but don't you detect an air in Jesus' remarks to the effect that he doesn't greatly care that the temple, his father's temple, is going to be destroyed, which, as we know, happened in the year 70 AD. Now, that may seem like a stretch, but recall last week's gospel where Jesus completely shut down the temple's sacrificial enterprise by driving out all of the sacrificial animals, the oxen, the sheep, and the doves, in John chapter 2. Can we see it? Jesus just isn't terribly concerned about religion, by which I mean the cult or the praxis of doing certain things or doing them in a certain way, all supposedly to please God. Look again at his words to the Samaritan woman at the well, who asked him about the right place to worship. And he says, believe me, woman, the day is coming when neither on this mountain in Samaria nor in Jerusalem will you worship the Father. The hour is coming, and now is, when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For such the Father seeks to worship him. John chapter 4. Now, let's admit Jesus is also the one who told us to do this in remembrance of me with respect to the Lord's Supper, which Catholics call the Eucharist. See for 1 Corinthians 11. So he seems to have expected at least that his revised version of the Passover meal was going to continue after he had returned to the Father. In other words, Jesus knew about religious ritual and he understood its place, but its place seems to have been secondary to what he called worship in spirit and in truth. Have a good week.